Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's give a big applause to
Thanks. Hey guys, what's up? As you already mentioned, my name is Joey, formerly known as JoeySuki, and my real name is Joey Lelyveld. It's a Dutch name. I'm from the Netherlands. Thanks everyone for coming over. It's been a long flight for me, but it's great to be here in Malaysia. It's my first time actually, so thanks for having me. I guess that most of you will probably know me as JoeySuki because I've been a DJ and producer for over 10 years. But nowadays I'm more known as an artist coach actually, under my own name, Joey Lelyveld. So I'm going to talk to you today about my trip, my life, how I've been a DJ and a producer and eventually ended up in a burnout and then got back up again and changed my life. Because I think most of you here probably have the ambition to become a successful DJ somewhere in the future. So hopefully it's useful to you and you can learn something out of it. That's my goal for today. Okay, so it's been a long trip and I'm taking you back today to the year 2004. It's about 14 years ago. And I started off, probably as the most of you started off, like this little kid with big dreams. I was starting to play with a friend of mine. We built our own like DJ desk, you know, something like this. We built this for our own. We bought our own speakers, got some gear from friends, and even my grandpa gave me my own like amplifier and stuff. So we actually gathered a lot of free gear to get started, and we actually played at people's homes at that moment. So when someone graduated, we showed up and played at their home parties. And actually little kid parties, so not 16 years old, 10 years old parties. Really, really strange. Only like non-alcohol drinks and stuff. It's pretty weird. But that's where I started. So I actually did that with my friend, a friend of mine. And from that moment on, we had an opportunity. I got an email from a guy from my local town who owned the bar, and he asked me, would you like to come over and play in my bar tonight? Because I've heard of your name from throughout the city and I'm interested. I said, yeah, sure, you know, like we had to do this mixtapes to prove ourselves that we were good enough to play there. So eventually I ended up playing there and my friend didn't. So that's where our paths shifted actually. That's where I became a solo artist. So yeah, I was actually 16 years old at this moment, 16. And I wasn't even allowed in the club because you had to be 18, but I was already playing in the club. So the staff actually had to drive me home every night because I wasn't allowed to play there, I didn't have my driver's license, I wasn't even allowed to drink. So every night the staff had to drive me back home. But that's where the thing started for me as a DJ. I made a lot of hours there. I played there 2 or 3 times a week from 11 o'clock till 4 o'clock in the morning, so 5 hours a day, 3 times a week. That's 15 hours of DJing every week as a 16-year-old. So that's where I learned the craft of DJing actually. I just never knew it was going to be that big eventually. I just was playing in my hometown, which was nice. So I'm not sure if you see the photos pretty well from there, but the left photo is my first gig in a big venue with like 1,000 people, I think. This is one of the gigs in Holland as well, where I was still playing with CDs. I think you guys have never played with CDs before. Maybe you have, and I think you have, yeah. This is actually my first press picture. And as you can see, it's pretty dated right now, but at that moment, this was the best I could do, and it was the best at that time. So it's 40 years old. It's been a long time. So yeah, there's where things started, you know. I played it in my hometown. And at that time, my nephew was already making music. And I was doing these shows and I was feeling like, you know, I want to play something of my own. Some edits, some mashups, whatever. Something I created my own just to see what the audience would do if I played that track. So my nephew started teaching me music. There wasn't, I think YouTube didn't even exist at that moment, but there were like YouTube tutorials at that time where you can learn stuff. So I actually had to learn from my nephew. I started producing, and every time I ran into a problem, I gave him a call. I was like, okay, how do I sidechain? Because I want this to happen, how do I even do that? He had to come over to my home and explain me how to sidechain. simply because there weren't any tutorials at that moment. So that's how I learned the craft of music production. I started making my own music and I started playing them out in my shows, and at that moment my career actually started because I started releasing music. I started releasing on a small sub-label from Spinnin' Records. It's called Sneakers. I'm not sure if you guys know it. It's not that big right now, but at that moment it was one of the biggest platforms. Guys like Feddy Legrand started there, Gregor Salto, all the bigger names right now started at that platform. So did I. When I started releasing on that label, my tracks ended up in the charts pretty quick on Beatport. And when your tracks end up in Beatport charts, the whole world gets to see that. And like the most logical thing from there to happen is that you'll get booked anywhere in the world. And that's what happened to me. I think I was about 20 years old at that moment, and I remember it like it was the day of yesterday. I received an email from South Africa, and I remember the guy emailing me. I've never met this guy, I've never seen this guy. He just emailed me, "Hey Joey, would you like to come over to South Africa? You have to do 3 gigs in South Africa for 1 week. We will pay for your flights, we will pay for your hotel, you will get money for the gigs." I was 20 years old and I was like, wow, where can I sign? You know, like, when can I go? I already packed my bags and I was ready to go. But that's when my parents kicked in. And my parents said, "Okay Joey, before you go, who is this guy? What are you gonna do there? Why are they paying for you?" So my parents were pretty scared actually, you know, because their little kid was asked to come over to South Africa to actually play there for a lot of money. And I was excited, but my parents really weren't. They were just scared that I ended up in a weird place with weird people. Eventually, my parents decided to let me go, so I went there, and it was great. It was my first international tour, and it was great. Hey guys. I did the shows, and that moment, my first international tour was a switching moment for me. That's where I decided, okay, I can make money out of this. This could be a career, you know. This is not a simple hobby, which I thought it was until that moment. This is my career. This is something I can do for the rest of my life. Travel the world, earn some money, gather some fans. It seems like the best thing in life, you know. So that's where I make the shift, and I thought like, okay, I'm going all in. This is the thing I'm going to do for the next couple of years, building a career. So I started building a career. And from that moment on, things started to go even harder. I had a lot of releases. I did releases on Revealed Recordings, on Spinnin', on Toolroom, on Defected. I did a lot of remixes for people such as Jennifer Lopez and Pitbull. I had a collaboration with Hardwell, with Kill the Bus. I did so many things. I played at Tomorrowland, I played it all over the world in every continent. It all went pretty hard, and it all went pretty cool actually. From the moment I came back from South Africa, I also had to get back to school because I was 20 years old and I still was obligated to go to school in the Netherlands. So I picked a music school. It's called the Rock Academy. It's not that famous, I think, but it's pretty good, pretty decent school in Holland. And I actually went there for 1 year. I learned a lot, but mostly on the music making side, because before that school, I couldn't even read notes. I didn't even know how to play the piano. All the tracks that I made was purely based on my hearing. Like, do I like what I hear? That was the only thing I cared about, because I didn't know how to play the piano, you know, so I couldn't make any melodical tracks or whatever. I just had to do it with what I heard. So that school actually helped me, playing the piano, reading notes, working with vocals, making tracks more melodical. And now looking back at my older tracks, you can actually see the transition, because the first tracks were mainly instrumental and just simple beeps and stuff. And when I got to that school, I actually started using melodies and chords on the background and vocals. So my tracks evolved because of that school. But what that school also did was holding me back, because they teach me a lot of musical history. And that's what held me back, because that's not really something you can use for your career, you know. It's not like somebody's ever going to ask you where did jazz music started or where did hip hop came from. They are only interested in your own music. So I decided to quit after 1 year of school and go all in for my career. So during the time, It's not loading. Let's see. Can you guys see it? Yeah. During the time, I also started my own label. It's called Dub Records, and I started that label because I needed some kind of platform where I can push my own music and keep that release schedule going, because if you're depending on labels, and you have to go through their rules. Like if there's a spot in their release schedule, you have to wait for them. And I was pretty tired of waiting for other people, so that's why I started my own label, to have a continuous releasing schedule. So that's what I did as well. To get back to the photos, on the left upper corner, it's my first tour in South Africa that I mentioned. It's right here, where I'm actually signing CDs in the CD shop, which is pretty old school right now. This is one of my first releases on Revealed, called Kiwi Stick. This is me in Seoul, South Korea. This is Ibiza, together with Kill the Buzz. This was actually one of my last shows. This is my American tour with Sick Individuals. And this is me playing at a Revealed party in Belgium. So this is between 2014 and 2004 and 2013. And there were some other highlights of my career, as I mentioned. I played Tomorrowland, US tours, remixes, my own label, another release together with Firebeats on Spinning, and a collaboration with Hardwell I did. So if you have a look at all these highlights, probably most of you people think, that's a decent career, you know. You must feel great, you've accomplished something, everything went well. Well, the problem is, it wasn't. And this is the year 2014. It's 4 years ago. Everything seemed to be perfect to me. It was the best year of my career. That was the year I played Tomorrowland, did the world tours, had a lot of great releases. So I was at the highest point of my career. I actually couldn't be happier for the outside world. The problem was, inside, I was really unhappy. And I wasn't at the place where I wanted to be, but I just keep pushing myself to live someone else's life, actually. It wasn't simply my dream job, but I kept doing it because other people always told me, like, dude, you have the dream job. You travel the world, you earn money, you have people loving you because you have fans. Why would you quit? Well, that all refers back to India. I did a small India tour of 5 days. Had to do 3 gigs there, so 5 days of traveling at 3 different cities. It's a pretty intensive schedule, but not something I've never done before, so I went there on my own. The problem is, before I went to India, I also moved my house. I also switched houses, so I had to do a lot of stuff before. I was tired physically of moving, and then I had to leave to India. And the moment I arrived at the airport, I noticed something was different. I wasn't really happy, and I wasn't excited for the tour. That was the first time in my life that I wasn't excited for a gig. I just wanted to stay home and lay down in bed and just stay there, you know. I didn't want to leave my home. But, you know, everyone has this day that you just don't feel like going to work, same as I did, so I just get myself together, got into the plane, and left to India on my own. That 5 days in India afterwards was one big trip to me, one big bad trip, actually. It was like hell on earth at that moment. And now looking back at it, it was pretty weird because I actually don't remember all these pictures. I don't remember me being there. I don't remember being there and there and there. This picture is made in a club in India during one of my gigs. And as you can see, I'm not sure if you can see it, but I'm actually smiling there. But I don't really remember anything of it. This is in the airplane. Well, I don't really look that happy there. This is also in the club with the promoter. I'm also smiling, but it's not how I felt. And same here. So when I got back from India, I noticed one thing. I just couldn't be in my hotel room without Skyping my mom or my girlfriend. I was just anxious as hell. I just wanted to get out of there. I wanted to go home. I was scared. I was sick. I just wanted to go home. So I couldn't be in my hotel room without Skyping my mom or my girlfriend. Because I wanted to have someone next to me so I can feel some kind of easier, you know, like quieter. So when I got back from the trip from India, I decided I need to do something about this, because this was in May, 2014, in the month of May. And the busiest summer of my career was actually about to start. I had to do a world tour, Tomorrowland, all those gigs had to come after this. And I was feeling pretty shitty at that moment. So I decided, okay, I need to do something about this, because this is not a way to do it for the upcoming months, you know. I decided to visit a psychologist. And that psychologist actually, well, she did help me, but not that much. Seeing that I had a lot of panic attacks, especially during this trip. I was suffering through a lot of panic attacks. I was feeling bad, I was getting ill. So she told me how all those things worked, and how my body worked, and how my mind worked, and how those two things are connected to each other, and why I was having panic attacks, and all those things, and how you can get kind of rid of them actually. So that helped, but it didn't feel to me like that was the solution to me. I still wasn't really happy with that answer. I still knew there was something else, because every gig that came after that, I just didn't felt like going. I just wanted to stay home, and I just wanted to stay in bed, and that's not a good sign. So the gigs after that, I started to bring my friends, I started to bring my girlfriend, just to make things easier, but it just didn't help. I just didn't want to go, I just didn't want to play anymore, I just wanted to stay at home. So I went to a career coach, and that career coach actually was the key to my success. When I got to the career coach, he let me do 2 tests. He gave me a personality test and a career test. And both of the results, they came out of the test, we put them together, and I instantly noticed, okay, I've been doing something wrong in the last 10 years of my life. Because what I noticed is that all the things I had to do as an artist, traveling a lot, being in the spotlight a lot, having a weird time schedule, every day in a different time zone, eating at different times, sleeping at different times, all those things are things that I treasure the most in life. I treasure my friends, my family, I just want to stay at home. I'm a home person actually, I'm just a simple guy, I don't need to travel the world. So I actually have been doing the wrong job for 10 years. So it's completely logical to me now that I started to feel shitty after 10 years, because if you're going to your job unhappy every day, there will be a point where you decide to quit. That's what happened to me. When I noticed that I was doing the wrong job, I decided to quit. I decided to quit DJing, quit producing, and just find myself back again, because I was completely burned out. I was done. I had no energy left to do anything else. So that was the lowest point to me. I just wanted to quit, and after a long time of managing deals and stuff and making sure everything was arranged properly, I quit it as a DJ. And I still remember as the day of tomorrow, as yesterday, that when I created a post for my fans to announce that I was quitting. And it was a video with all the highlights of my career, and I put them all together all day long. I created the video myself without any emotion. And the moment I wanted to post it on Facebook, the moment I clicked post, I just burst out in tears. I just was crying like a little kid. And it literally felt like I was burying myself actually, like I was arranging my own funeral. It felt so weird, but it felt like I cut off a piece of myself. So that was the end, you know. I announced it to the fans, my management knew that I was quitting, my booker knew that I was quitting, that was the end. But then the biggest question came to me, what are you going to do next? I was 25 years old, I already had a career, but I didn't want to continue doing that. And the dreams that I had as a 14-year-old kid didn't exist anymore. So what did I want to do for the rest of my life now? I was 25 years old, I have to work for at least 50 years from here. What do I want to do? That's where I started to think. What are the things that I like to do most? And what are the things that actually make me happy, you know? What gets me out of bed every morning, and what makes me happy as a person? And I found out that thing is helping people, guiding people. And of course, in the last 10 years, I didn't get a graduate, you know, I didn't get any paper from school, but the one thing I did get was a lot of experience in the music industry. I've built a big network in the music industry, and I have my own experiences as a DJ. So I started to think, what was one of the things that I missed myself in my career, what was the thing that I missed and what was the thing that I needed as an artist. And I actually thought, why isn't there a person who was standing next to me, so not my management, not my booker, because they're financially obligated with me, they work on percentage deals, so it's really hard for them to make a clear decision based on business stuff. Hey guys, hi. Welcome. So I was thinking the management, they work on percentage deals, bookers work on percentage deals, so if there is a tough decision to be made money-wise, it's hard for a management and a booker to decide for, not for the money, but for the health of the DJ or whatever. So I started thinking, why isn't there a person who is neutral in this industry, who doesn't have any connections with any party, and who is just there for the artist, who makes decisions just for the artists? And I just started Googling, and I found out a person like that just wasn't there. And that gave me an idea, you know, like, why am I not going to do that? Because I can help people, I can guide people, and I can use all my experiences, all my network, my relations, I can use that to help someone else. So I actually started a new company called Artist Coaching. That's about 2 years ago now. And that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years. Nowadays I help guys like you, DJs, producers, singers, songwriters. I help them along their career. I help them on a business platform, so if you have an agreement or whatever, I go through the agreement with you and check if everything's okay. If you want to release your music, I help you find a way to release your music and find the best way for you. But also working on your network, I connect you with people, make sure everything goes well, and also on a mental part, so if you start feeling shitty like I do, like I did as a DJ, we'll try to find a way to make it work for you, and if it doesn't work for you, we'll try to find another way, maybe to quit as well. You know, you never know. But that's what I do right now. I help DJs out in their career as a coach, as a neutral person, and that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years, and that makes me happy on a daily basis. So I think the main topic of this story right now is becoming a DJ, becoming a producer, becoming successful in life doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's a perfect life to you. Always remember that you have to make decisions, and every decision you make leads to something. And if you're not built to be successful, or if you don't want to be successful and don't want to travel the world that much, if you just want to stay home or whatever, make sure that you think about that before you even start or whatever. But be wise and first think about who you are as a person, and then start making decisions for your future. So that was my story so far. I'm open to do any questions right now, so if there's some questions from the audience, please raise up your hand. Yeah. Sorry? I think you have to do this. A writer's block. One of the first things that I like to do, and what works for a lot of people, is just first take a step back from the studio. Because if you keep being too focused on all the things you're doing right now, you have to get out of your zone at that moment. So first leave the studio for like at least a day or whatever, do something completely different. And what also helps to me is download new plugins, download new samples, and get your creative juices tingled by some new influences, you know, new samples, new VSTs, whatever works for you, but something new in your environment. Because if you keep using the same plugins over and over again, if you keep using the same samples over and over again, your creative juices start to go down. So boost yourself in your creative juices, so add new stuff to your libraries and take a step back from the studio, is my advice.
What I have to do, and I want to know, how do you define success?
How do you find success? Define. Success is really personal. Like, to me, success is being happy in life with whatever you do. If you like cleaning up garbage and that makes you happy every day, that's perfect to me, you know. So success is really personal. Some people are successful if they have $1 million. Some people are successful if they have a big release. Some people are successful if they just wake up every morning and can have a coffee with their girlfriend. It's really personal, so you should find out for yourself what's success to you. Like, where's your hot spot actually? No problem.
Anyone else have a question?
Hello, my name is Aki. I have a question for you. What did you feel when you performing tomorrow?
It was nice, but at that moment, it was in my bad year. Like, I was not feeling well, so I wasn't really able to enjoy it actually. It was just a stressful trip to me, and I had to play there, so I wasn't really able to enjoy it. And that's the weird thing, because you should enjoy it. You know, it's some kind of success in the world, so why not enjoy it at that moment? But I wasn't really able to enjoy it at that moment. I did remember that it was a properly organized festival. It was looking perfectly, but the gig itself, I wasn't really able to enjoy it. But that's just because of me, not because of the audience or because of the festival organization itself. That was because I wasn't at the right spot at the right moment.
Thank you. I have a question myself too.
Mhm.
My name is Love, and you said that over the 10 years you did something eventually that you didn't want to do in the future.
Mhm.
Did you regret what you did over the past 10 years?
No, it's a good question, because I've been wondering myself that as well. Like, did I just lost 10 years of my life? That was the thing I was really afraid of. So at first I thought I did lost that 10 years, but eventually I ended up thinking like, no, you never have lost that years, because you've built a lot of experiences, relationships, all those things, and that's what I use right now. If I didn't have that, I couldn't do this. So I just brought all that life experience I've built in that 10 years to take me to the next step. So at first, yeah, I thought I just threw away 10 years of my life, but right now I think I needed those years to get at the point where I am right now.
So basically what you're saying to the kids is never regret what you did in the past.
Yeah, just try to make decisions based on what you know now. You're not able to look into the future, you're not able to go back into the past, you have to look at where you're at right now. And look at all the things you can have like a logical thought on, you know, like sometimes you can expect something to happen, or there's a big chance that something can happen, so be smart. But just make sure you make the right decisions in life. Think about your decisions.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question?
Is it advice for beginners?
Yes. I will look into your artist also, but for now, just strategize your beginning.
Yeah, sure. I think for beginners, the most precious advice, if I could go back 10 years right now, and if I could take one thing I needed to know at that moment, is that you have an option to say no. And it sounds really simple, I know, because you always can say no, you know, this is easy. But when you're becoming successful, and when all the things you have been dreaming of for the last couple of years coming on your path, it's really hard to say no when you're able to actually play at that event, or when you're actually able to have that release. And you want to have that success, but maybe at that moment you just aren't in the possible, or aren't in the availability to actually do it. So learning how to say no and knowing how to make decisions are the most valuable things to me. Yeah.
Because you started a new company, right? Artist coaching. It must be really hard to turn your life around 180 degrees. So, what would you advise us to do when we have to turn around 180 degrees, and what kind of keeps you moving forward?
Yeah. Well, turning your life around exactly 180 degrees ago, because I left my girlfriend, I left my house, I left my job, I lost everything I had. And I took like 2 years to do that, but the one thing that is holding back everyone in this room and everyone on this earth is fear. Because when you have to make a decision, you're always afraid of what's going to happen when you make the decision. Like same thing with a relationship. If you end your relationship with a girlfriend, what's going to happen next? And that's what's holding you back, the fear. So don't be afraid of all the things. Like if you know that making a decision will be better for you, don't let you hold back by all the fear, but just make the decision and you will be happier in the end. So that's the main thing for me.
So basically, what you're saying is fear is a lie.
Yeah, eventually, if you know that the choice that you're going to make is better for you as a person, there's no reason to fear, because most of the time you're just afraid of what other people are going to think about it. But that's not important, you know. The only thing that's important is what you feel and what you think about it.
And because you're doing this alone, how do you, like, I had the same thing. It took me 2 years to stand up again. I had burned out 3 years ago. But when you're alone, you feel like you can't move forward. So what do? Do you approach your family, your parents, or friends?
To me, the career coach really helped, because family and friends, of course, they want to help you, and of course, they just want to get you forward. But sometimes you just need a different perspective from a different person outside of your comfort zone, outside of your normal life, to know what's really wrong with you or to know where you really want to go. So family or friends just don't always work that well. To me, a career coach really helped, but maybe a psychologist could also help. That's personal.
What about WW, people with the same interests?
Yeah. Yeah, that could help. You know, you can always listen to someone else's story, but never forget that every person is different. You can have different admirations than someone else have. So always pick out the things that are useful to you, but don't just copy someone else's life. Like my story isn't necessarily your story or your story. And just always pick out the things that you think that work for you.
Any other questions?
Do you guys work alone or with other producers normally?
As a DJ? I actually always worked on my own, but now looking back at it, I think I would have preferred working with someone together, because someone, when you have like a creative block or whatever, it's nice to have someone next to you who doesn't have that creative block. And if he, let's say he creates a new melody, you get triggered by it, and then you get pulled out of the creative block. So I think having someone next to me in the studio could have worked for me better, looking back at it right now.
We have time for one final question. Is there anyone else with a final question? You?
My name is Rick. I have a quick question for you. How do you get out of a comfort zone from living alone, like into music, but get any knowledge or something? Like probably a house music, it is fixed on the house, and now I'm into fixed stuff from music, but no, I didn't get nothing, no success or no any music placed on SoundCloud or Spotify. That my parents out and put money to get income. So how do you help? How do you say it? How do I get out of the comfort zone? I want to live free with your music.
I'm not sure if I got the question. Could you please check? No problem.
If I understand clearly, how do you get out of your comfort zone and go for what you love to do, right?
Yeah. Okay, so you're at school right now or working already? College. Okay, and you want to make your living by following your dreams. You know, that also refers to making choices. I'm not sure how it works in Malaysia, because that's different in every country, but to me, we have to go to school until, I think it's 18 years old, and from then you're free to go. So I made a choice to quit school. And of course, that choice has yeah, it's gonna have some things in the future, you know, like I'm not gonna have a paper, I'm not gonna graduate or whatever. But that choice actually did lead to me making me happier because I could follow my dreams. So making choices, and of course it's freaking scary to leave school because you never know what's gonna happen if you leave school or if you're gonna follow your dreams. But you have to listen to yourself and listen to your heart. If everything inside yourself tells you you have to do this and this is something you can, I would do it. But it's really personal. And if you go all in for the music, you have to go all in and work freaking hard every day. Okay.
I'd like to thank you all for participating in this session.
Thanks, guys.